Welcome to our in-camera interview with the delightful Lady Gaga.
Hello, Alex.
Hi. We only have 2 hours with you today, as you're off the
Only 2 hours.
Only 2 hours, and we got a lot of questions.
How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I think we're going to dive straight in, and the first question that we have is from myself, Alexander Fury in London. ShowSTUDIO.com is a fashion website, first and foremost. Lady Gaga, we've asked you to be the 9th participant in our series of in-camera interviews because more than any other contemporary musician, your work feels inextricably connected to fashion. What function does fashion serve for you? Do you use it to underline your musical themes, or is it another outlet for a different type of creative expression?
Well, it's all of the above, but I think more importantly on a cultural level, I feel that music and fashion have always mirrored one another. There's a creative consciousness, a trend that is part of the zeitgeist in the way that people think about art and colors and patterns, and music and fashion, music and visuals they're connected in that way. I guess I could say that they come from a similar vocabulary. So I guess I could just say that they cannot be separate. I need fashion for my music, and I need music for my fashion.
Oh, well,
You're a very fast typer.
Thank you. I'm going to read it back to you and just make sure that I've got the gist of it, and if there's anything that
Oh, no,
I've
you don't
missed.
have to read it
Okay.
back. No, I trust you. Let's go.
Okay,
It's live.
So we're ending it with I need fashion for my music and I need music for my fashion.
Yes.
Cool. Okay.
Am I wonky? Ruthie, I love you. Don't talk to me, Gaga. It's live.
Just moving on to our second question now. As I said to you just before the interview started, we received 25,000 questions.
So many little monsters. Thank you for all your submissions.
And I read through the 25,000 questions for you.
Thank you.
And whittled it down as best I could. This question is probably the one that we were most asked throughout the questioning process. And in this instance, it's been asked by Ricky White from New York, Laura Bowery from Merseyside, Alexander Gray from Massachusetts, Ali Johnson from Columbus, Lorna Lee from Portsmouth, Sunny from France, Tudor from Romania, Marie-Helene from Canada,
So wonderful.
Alana from Salernitana, Ori Akers from Arkansas, Tondo from Slovakia, and I'm sure many others that I have regrettably missed. I'm very sorry. But the way that Ricky White phrases it is, you are such an inspiration from what you wear to how you sing, but where do you get your inspiration from?
From capital H-I-M. I think there's two different kinds of artists. There's people that need to be plugged in to perhaps a cultural movement in music, or a movement in fashion, or a movement in the latest fishing techniques. But I think for some of us, and I would perhaps say the same about my very good friend Nick Knight, who I love so much. But for some of us, it's a much more innate gift. It's a much more spiritual experience. We don't necessarily have to be plugged in to a particular movement in order to be a part of it. It's transcendent. It's an inspiration that is that we're born with. And to be perfectly honest, I would say right now my biggest inspiration is my fans. I feel like they subconsciously transmit all of their freedom and their love and their joy into me through the show, through my communication with them. It's almost like we have our own little spiritual connection that's completely separate from anything else. I wish you didn't have to type this. Does he have to type it?
I think that's fab.
Okay.
It's quite nice because the idea is sort of if someone comes, just to go as an aside, if someone comes in halfway through the interview, although I know we've had some tweets that people have been staying up and it's 4 in the morning where they are and they've stayed up to watch this, but if anyone for whatever reason comes in halfway through, they can see how you've answered so far.
Oh.
And then later on they can see the on-demand footage, which will happen very soon.
Great.
I'm just checking my spelling because it's absolutely frightful. I couldn't even spell Nick Knight, which is reprehensible.
Which is
reprehensible.
You should be spanked. Well, how do you say it in London? Flogged.
Flogged.
You should be flogged.
We should say that to Ruth. I'm sure Ruth would enjoy that.
Flogging. It's like the bum film.
It is.
For anyone that's wondering, Ruth is the impossibly beautiful woman that's filming us right now.
Impossibly beautiful and very talented.
And very talented.
Okay. We're on to question 3 now. Question 3 is from Midheeb Nick Nuardhit, I hope I've pronounced that correctly, who's in Ireland. Did Rainer Maria Rilke's theory that artists should not accept criticism help you stay determined when you were starting out?
Yes, I love Rilke. It's no secret that I live my life in almost utter submission and loyalty to Rilke. I think it's important to be able to be objective about your own work, and I also think it's important, what I've learned through my love of Warhol, also to empower the people around you to feed your creativity. Criticism can be wonderful if you have a very strong sense about what you're creating. If you have an incessant need for validation from an outside place that is not yourself, that's when criticism can be not just detrimental, but completely life-changing to your work. You don't want the world to dictate what you create. You want to be a fuse, a funnel. It has to always come from you. So yes, in short, I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks. Except for Nick Knight. Nick Knight is God.
I definitely want to get, in short, I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks. And it kind of answers our next question, I think.
Okay.
But I will ask you the next question anyway. The next question is from Jessica Hebert in Lafayette, and also from Heather Hunter in Virginia. Do you find it difficult to deal with negative criticism in the media?
No. It can always be personal, because my work is personal. But you have to so truthfully believe in yourself and what you're doing, and you have to almost refuse criticism and negativity like a bad heart. The wrong organ was given to you during a transplant.
You've got to reject it.
You must reject it.
It's a lovely analogy.
I like morbid surgical analogies.
Okay. Our 5th question is from Perez Hilton in Los Angeles. Your Little Monsters know that when you began your career in New York City, the music you were making and playing was sonically very different from the music you make now. What was the shift for you? Why did you decide to start making dance music?
Well, I started out when I was really young, so I was playing classical music when I was 4, and when I turned about 11, that's when I started to write pop music. And then I started to play jazz, and I wrote some jazz records. And then I got into ragtime. And then I got into sort of folky jam music, Bob Dylan. And then I got into Queen and Bowie and rock and roll. And then I started listening to disco. I guess you could say it was my intellectual evolution, and my love of music just began to change and form. And when I was living downtown alone, I was able to more confidently look into myself and ask that question: must I write? Must I create music? And I answered, I must. And if you must create music, what is it that you have to say? Why make it at all? So I resigned myself to make the kind of music that I wanted to listen to. Not what I thought anyone wanted to hear, or what would perhaps be the most credible or notable. I just created what I wanted to listen to, what I thought was great, what I thought could be groundbreaking where I was living, which was an area where indie music was much more popular and pop music was considered to be annoying or corporate or unimportant. So I decided, in true Gaga fashion, to be revolutionary and go against the grain and make pop music in a town where there was none.
Brilliant.
Hi everyone. I love you.
I'm glad you can fill this
I wish
little
I could
gaps.
see all of you. It's not fair. This lovely window. You have a lovely window. I don't get to see all of you. It's not fair.
Okay. Just bringing up our sixth question now.
We need to build little teeny tiny monster satellites.
And this is a question about your monsters,
Okay,
which is great.
good.
Your fans do so much for you, from rallying together to vote you to the top of the charts to holding mass requesting sessions on radio stations. Why do you think so many little monsters care and support you the way they do? And that's from Farah Marie in Santa Barbara.
You know, I don't know. I feel so blessed. It's so unexplainable, the love that I feel from my fans and how they treat me. All of the videos that they create and the lovely notes and the artwork. I mean, just the other day I spent a few hours just reading through all this fan mail that was sent to me and sending back autographs and looking at all the artwork. And I sit with House of Gaga and people that I work with in the crew, and we all rave about how talented and lovely my fans are. I guess all I would say is I think love is it's a symbiotic thing, especially when it's real. So perhaps it's just very real, and I put love into my fans and they put love into me, and we just continue to give love back and forth to each other forever.
Fantastic. And I have a feeling that my next question, or our next question rather, relates directly to that.
Great.
And to the idea of this relationship between you and your fans and sort of the give and take between both of you. This is by Vikram Alexi Kansara in New York, and his question is: traditionally pop stars engage in one-way communication with their fans, but your relationship with your little monsters is more like a digital conversation. Is this a conscious or instinctual gesture?
It's instinctual. I am the way I want to be with my fans. We have a very special and honest relationship. It's almost comical to even talk about, because I go on stage sometimes and I have had a really bad day or something's wrong. Just the other day I I revealed to my fans that my grandpa's sick. My grandpa's in the hospital. And it's very difficult for me because I'm away and I want to be home, but I don't want to disappoint my fans because so many of them spent all their money on tickets to the shows. So I sat down at the piano and I said to them, I had a bad day. My grandpa's sick. And then the next day, I went to, as usual, say hello to all my fans on Twitter, let them know what I've been doing. And I had seen that there were all these lovely messages from them, and that worldwide they had trended, "Get well, Grandpa Gaga." That has nothing to do with my music, or my clothes, or making an album #1 or a song #1. That's just pure friendship. My new album that I'm creating, which is finished pretty much, was written with this new instinctual energy that I've developed getting to know my fans. They protect me, so it's now my destiny to protect them. I talk too much for him to be typing. I feel terrible.
No, not at all.
You should just tell me to shut up. Okay, that's enough.
Okay.
I've had enough. Your fingers will be bleeding.
We'll see when we get past the hour-long mark, then it might be that I try to pull out the one-question answers and things like that. But no, this is great. Okay, I'm just going to double-check.
So you're typing and sending them live.
Exactly. This is uploaded live onto the website. So I'm just going to try and...
So advanced.
Just making sure that we've got everything done. I did want to get in the thing about your grandpa and the Twitter, because I think it's interesting how much you use Twitter as well. And that idea of...
Well, I actually think it's part of why, you don't have to write all of this, but part of why Twitter is so great is because, for me, you can build trust with your fans if you use it for the right reasons. You know, people that argue on Twitter or are just using it as a celebrity networking device, it's boring, and it has nothing to do with your fans or your vocational purpose. I use the internet. I've embraced the internet in a pop cultural kind of way. I think about what would a pop artist have done in the 70s or the 80s if the internet was what it is today, and they would have embraced it. Warhol would have, he would have done something beyond what I do and what we all do with the internet, because, or I could liken it to what Nick Knight does with the internet, because it is so powerful, because it can reach so many people. Even previewing music videos and things, I can use the television, but the truth is that the internet is more powerful because it gives other people the platform to have a voice. You can comment, you can chat with other people that are watching the same videos that you're watching, you can make friends on the internet, safely make friends. But I guess my point is, I think it's wonderful to embrace that there's now 2 windows. And that's what I was just saying about how I wish there was another window right now looking out into the fans. But I know that they can all comment online, which is wonderful. And I will read all of your comments. I just... embracing the internet is what a pop artist should do. It is the new era. It's the way we live. We are wired.
It's interesting that you're talking about eras and ideas, because that kind of links on. This is a bit of a sort of volte-face or non sequitur to what I've been asking you. But it's from John Galliano in Paris, who is asking, if you were able to travel through time, where would you go? Backwards or forwards, and why? It's a bit of a difficult one.
It's not very difficult. Well, my first inclination would be to say to go to the past, because I would, of course, love to experience and see all that has influenced and shaped my vocabulary and who I am. However, I will decline the past, and I would say that if I had to choose, I would choose to go to the future. And the reason I would choose to go to the future is quite selfish. Because, and Nick Knight once said this to me, that McQueen used to say, you must never look back. You must never go backwards. You must always be going forwards. So in his way, I would go to the future selfishly to feed my work, to make me a better artist, so that I could create more forward-thinking, more innovative, more honest and truthful, magical, poetic work for my fans. Like he did.
Fantastic.
Good question.
Very good question. Let's move on to our next one. We're on to number 9 already. And this is from Mario Testino in London.
Mario Testino, my friend, I love you.
Mario asks, your looks are so extreme. Is this a reaction to something? Are you questioning or altering the status quo of women's rights?
Yes. Yes, I am. I'm a feminist. I reject wholeheartedly the way we are taught to perceive women, the beauty of women, how a woman should act or behave. Women are strong and fragile. Women are beautiful and ugly. We are soft-spoken and loud all at once. There is something mind-controlling about the way we're taught to view women, and my work is both visually and musically a rejection of all of those things, but more importantly, a quest. And it's exciting. It's exciting because all of the avant-garde clothing and the lyric and the musical style, which was at a certain time and at once considered weird or odd or unattractive, uncomfortable, shocking, it's now trendy. So perhaps we can make women's rights trendy. Make women's rights, feminism, strength and security, and the power of the wisdom of the woman. Let's make that trendy.
Brilliant.
Good question, Mario. Mario's fabulous. He's so lovely. He always wants me to be naked. Whenever we do photo shoots, we have rooms of couture, and I always end up naked.
Do you mind that?
No, it's fabulous. Who cares?
The next question, interesting that we discuss clothes. The next question is by Jordan from Louisiana.
Hi, Jordan.
Jordan's question is, what is the process by which you and stylist Nicola Formichetti put together an outfit?
Nicola! We play rock, paper, scissors. I'm just kidding. It's really easy. Nicola and I, he's one of my best friends, and I love him so much. And Nicola knows exactly who I am to my core as a musician and an artist and as a girl. So it's very easy. And the whole house of Gaga works together. Matthew also, I mean, he's been creating clothes for me for years. So we simply have a cigarette and a whiskey, and we look through racks of clothing and, oh, this is nice, this is fab, put it on with this, and we just go.
So it's quite organic?
It's quite organic. There's no pretense or preconception, especially before photo shoots. We like to create on the spot. It's one of my favorite things about working with Nick Knight and with Nicola and with Matt all at the same time. We all just kind of in the moment.
Fantastic.
And with Ruth.
Of course. Our next question is from Nicola.
Nicola!
When it brings it up. And the question is, what are your favourite and least favourite outfits we created together?
My favourite. That's so difficult, Nicola. Shame on you.
There have been quite a few.
There's so many good ones. I would have to say, well, one of my favorites was the red McQueen lace archive that I wore to the MTV Awards, and we created the crown, the tall red crown to go with it.
That was the Video Music Awards, wasn't it?
It was the Video Music Awards, and Nicola, that was very early on when Nicola and I were working together. I would also say from that evening, I would have to say my most favorite piece that we made, that we actually had sewn and created and we designed all together was the performance outfit for the MTV Awards, the one that bled on its own. Because as a piece in itself, as an art piece, the garment would actually bleed on its own on a mannequin without a human being. And we thought that it was such a strong statement about fashion and art and how the clothing is alive, how the clothing tells a story. The clothing lives and breathes the way that we do. It's the soul of the work. I thought that piece was very special. I would have to say that's my most favorite that we created together. But there's so many, Nicola. How could you even say that?
Would you like, so shall we go with the Red McQueen and the crown and the performance, please?
Well, I have to give you my least favorite.
Okay. And the least favourite? Is this more or less difficult?
I don't think I have one. I'm sorry. You're amazing, Nicola. We always nail it. I don't have a least favorite. No regrets. Always moving forward. And of course, all the clothing in the Bad Romance video was incredible. You know, the Scarparelli inspired stuff that we did. The McQueen stuff was so amazing. We've done so much work. It's hard to like or dislike anything. It's all part of who I am. It's like saying I don't like my arm. I like my arm. I don't like my arm any better than I like my foot. I like them both equally. I need them both.
Definitely want to get in. It's like saying I don't like my arm. I think that's really interesting that it's like an extension of yourself.
It is. You can't say you don't like your arm because you need your arm, and you don't like your arm better than you like your foot because you need your foot.
It's the same way you were saying that you need fashion.
I need fashion, I need music, I need it both.
And you need your foot.
And I also need my foot.
Okay, our next question, again it's on the subject of your style, and it's from Paulette Wilson in Baltimore.
Hello.
Can you describe your style in one word?
My style in one word. My style is free.
Free.
My style is free.
Fabulous.
That was a difficult question, Paulette. But thank you. Good one.
Okay, our next question, again, it's a bit of a fashion theme that we've got going at the moment, so we're going to run with this for a little while.
Keep going.
And it's from Philip Tracy in London.
I love Philip Tracy so much. I love you. I miss you. I need more hats. I want to come see you later.
Philip's question is, what do you like about wearing a hat?
What do I like about wearing a hat? It is a nice barrier. The bigger the better. The more interesting, outrageous, the better. For me, it keeps the devil away. I always like when I have a hat that's big enough that can keep people away from me at pretentious parties. It's protection. It's a sense of home away from home. But what he meant to ask me was, what do you love about a Philip Tracy hat? Because what I can say truthfully is I don't feel the same about anyone else's hats but yours. Wasn't it Isabella too that said she would never take her hat off at a party? Would you take off your underwear at a party?
Would I take off my underwear at a party?
That's what she used to say.
Would you take off your underwear at a party? Would you take it off before the hat?
No.
Oh.
Yes.
Depends how big the hat is.
Probably.
It could cover the whole thing.
Maybe at the same time would probably be more likely.
But I think as well what you were saying about hats is interesting because if it's big enough, it's a bit like sort of a crinoline. It's like you're existing in your own space.
It's like an eggshell.
Yeah.
My hat, you know, it's a home away from home. My fashion comforts me. It's part of who I am. It's not necessarily a mask. It's just part of who I am. Thank you.
Let me leave this here.
That tea is good. I can't see what it says, Ruth. You should shout it. Come closer. I don't have my glasses. Keep your chin down, okay?
Even though we asked her to
Do I
shout
have terrible
directions.
shadows? Just shout at me. My fans love you.
Okay. Now we're on to our 14th question.
Jeez, I'm fucking talking too
What?
fast.
No, not at all. It's great. And this is from Stephen Jones in London.
Great.
So it's another millinery question.
I know who he is.
What do you think hats can do for you that clothes can't? We kind of covered it.
Well, I kind of said, I kind of answered his question, didn't I? They protect me in a different way. A social canopy. A hat is a social canopy.
I think that's fabulous. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we move on?
I love
That's
Stephen
great.
Jones also.
I love Stephen Jones too.
He's lovely and wonderful.
Okay, we're coming up to number 15. So we're about a quarter of the way through. It's not too bad, I don't think.
Great.
And we're
I
a
don't
quarter
have
of the
to,
way
I
through
hope
the
I don't have
time.
to pee. I should have put a potty in the chair. I could just
I
go
was
right
thinking
here.
the same. This is a question from Marcus in Sydney. Is there one observation you've made about the zeitgeist that has gotten the most powerful reaction from people?
Well, a few. One being the hair bow. And the second being... I think something about when we put Bad Romance in the end of the McQueen show, and then the clothing in the video, and then that show becoming what is sadly now known to be his crescendo. I wish it were not as powerful as it's become, but I suppose that I wouldn't say it was necessarily a zeitgeist moment. I'd say it's just more destiny.
Great. Okay, I'll bring us on to question 16. I'm not sure if I want to give this continual update on where we are in the questions. I think maybe we try and make it a bit more organic for me. I don't want to give you a list of questions. Our next question is from Jefferson Hack in London.
Hi, Jefferson.
And his question is, if you could be anyone else for a day, who would you trade places with and what would you do in that place?
If I could be anyone else for a day. I would be Iman.
Good answer.
She's my friend, I could say that. Hello.
And what would you do in her place?
Whatever Iman does for a day. That's probably the most selfish answer I could give. She's so lovely. I don't make him like her anymore. What a fabulous woman.
Brilliant. That's a very good answer. I think you've got to have those moments where this is really what I want to do.
That's what I want to do. Yeah. I want to be Iman for the day. Who wouldn't? Very
true. Okay, our next question is by Nabil Azadi from Auckland in New Zealand. Kurt Vonnegut once said that humans have been telling fantastic stories from the beginning of time, and that the drama found in such stories is something we constantly try to emulate in our own lives. With your music and aesthetic, are you another fantastic storyteller, or are you showing us what real life can be?
Both. I'm telling you a lie. In a vicious effort that you will repeat my lie over and over until it becomes true.
Are we good to go?
Mm-hmm.
That's a wonderful answer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank God. Can you imagine if I was really boring?
Lying is always good, I think.
I like to lie.
Our next question is a little bit lighter, maybe. It's from Jonas Ackerlund.
Oh, Jonas! Jonas is wonderful. He did the paparazzi video and the telephone video.
Is he doing the next video? Can I ask this?
Actually, the Alejandro video was shot by the amazing Stephen Klein.
Oh. We had lots of questions about the Alejandro video.
Well, I will be happy to answer. None of them, I'm kidding.
Jonas asks, what would you call the movie about your life? I think that's a difficult one as well.
I know what it is,
okay.
But I would call it Born This Way.
Brilliant. Okay, our next question is by Laurent James. I hope I've pronounced that correctly, and he's from Antwerp in Belgium. Warhol is such a big influence in your work, and Madonna is as well. How is it having a personal relationship with her now? After all, she did know Warhol, and I think we can state he's your biggest influence. Meeting you for 1 minute was so surreal. You gave me an autograph after a concert. I can't even imagine having a personal relationship with someone I adore so much. How do you feel when someone not only so iconic, but also such a big personal influence is suddenly an accessible person?
Madonna is a wonderful, wonderful person, and she is so full of the most wonderful freedom and spirit, and she is so kind, and working with her has always been very exciting and very fun, and we have shared some wonderful, honest moments together. She comes to my shows, I ask her questions, she's given me advice. It's been my experience in the industry that I have connected on a much deeper level with the most iconic and legendary people that I have admired and have not connected with any of my contemporaries. But I would say the one thing that they all have in common, the legends that is that they are the nicest, most wonderful human beings you have ever met in your life. And that has freed me. I used to be quite guarded in interviews. I mean, I would sit there like, you know, with glasses on and barely speak, and I almost developed like an accent at one point because I was so fucking guarded and so nervous that the media was trying to destroy me, and I let it go. And I let it go much more when I got to meet all of these people that I worshipped as a child. And then when you play piano with Elton John and you realize that he is a fucking brilliant human being, but he is also the most wonderfully nice person, I thought, well, I'm just going to be myself, because I am a lovely, wonderful, sweet person, and I sometimes don't allow people to see that because I have to keep my hat on. And but when I'm with my fans, I can take my hat off because they know who I really am. But to be honest, I guess that what I'm trying to say is, as a segue from knowing and meeting and loving Madonna, it has freed me to not just meet her, but to meet so many other people that I love, and to have worked with such amazing, iconic people. It can be terrifying. Hollywood is terrifying. I hate Hollywood. It's terrifying. It's not real. It's completely fake and artificial, and there's this tremendous sense of tension, and there's no lightheartedness about music or art anymore. But I choose to exist in my own joy and just focus on the relationships I've built with the people that I truly adore and respect.
So do you think kind of meeting Madonna that's what that showed you? It was sort of like that legendary people are real people as well, and that
they are the most real. They are the most kind and the most real.
And as well, that kind of influenced you to be
It has influenced me almost recently. I'd say in the past 6 months, maybe a bit longer. It's influenced because, you know, everything happened very, very quickly for me. I mean, I've been working for so long on my music and my art and my performances, but suddenly the whole world is watching you, and they're trying to figure you out, and you just want to put your big giant stinking hat on and hide from them to protect your music and protect your work and protect yourself. And by meeting these people that I love and adore, that I would give my right arm happily to have been around or learned from, I've discovered myself again. My freedom, my security, myself. Makes me smile just talking about it.
Fabulous.
How do I look, Ruth?
I don't
Like
think
a
she's going
line
to
from a
talk. I think
movie.
she's drawn a line
How
under it.
do
She's
I
not
look, Ruthie? She's not going to talk.
No.
I'll get her after. She's a lovely new haircut, though.
Our next question is by Marina Abramovic in New York.
I was just speaking about her today. I am obsessed with this woman. She is so incredible.
Her question for you is, it's quite abstract. Who creates limits?
We do. We create our own limits. She is a limitless human being. She is so incredible. I went to go see her exhibit at MoMA. She is such an incredible piece of art in herself. And she is limitless. She is limitless in every way that I can even, in my ridden brain, that I do not possess the limitless brain that she does. I look at her and she is so free. She's sitting right now for like 3 months in MoMA all day long, and she's just in a state of nothing, of freedom. She goes somewhere else. And to be able to do that, you have to be limitless. And you, for yourself, she did this one piece that I think is the most powerful. And it's when you are around someone like Marina that you, as myself, a self-proclaimed pop performance artist, want to go home and slit my wrists and I am nothing. I've achieved no sense of art. She is so boundless, and she did a piece, I think it was in Germany, and she laid on a table and she put out all of these things, a gun, condoms, sleeping pills, booze, ropes, all sorts of things on this table, and there was a sign basically that just said that the museum goers could do as they pleased to her, and they were not responsible for anything that happened, that she would take full responsibility for anything that happened. Somebody tried to shoot her in the head, and another patron came by and stopped them. Somebody tried to, fuck her, and somebody came by and stopped them, and they gave her sleeping pills, and they ripped her shirt open, and they cut her hair, and she was limitless. And she created her own sense of limitless being. And I think we are the ones who create our limits. And I hope to God that when she hears that answer, she thinks I answered properly, because Marina, I think you are so wonderful, so beautiful and inspiring. And as a woman, I am in your...
You're a big fan.
I'm a big fan, and I, as a woman, want to translate what her work means into my own life on a domestic level.
Well, I think doing something like that, the idea of giving yourself to other people and almost relying on them to, I think it's interesting that someone tried to do something to her and then somebody else stopped them. The idea of
I don't know if she thinks about, whether or not she is going, if she's going to die or live. I think this allows her mind to be limitless, and in another way, she trusts in her own art. That's what she trusts her own work. That's what I take from it. I looked at all the items on the table at the moment, and I said, this bitch trusts her own self.
That's an amazing
She's not terrified by... She's the most scary thing. We are our most terrifying monster, and she's not scared of herself. Or maybe... I could talk for 3 hours about Marina, so... I love you, Marina. Thanks for your wonderful question. And notice how simple her question was. Yeah. Right, because she's fucking free.
Our next question is from Quentin Tarantino.
Another friend.
Another
I love you, Quentin.
From Los Angeles. And Quentin Tarantino asks, name one song when it comes on the radio you sing along to, but you are embarrassed that you like it so nobody knows.
Oh, I don't want to hurt her feelings, because she's lovely. That Taylor Swift song, You Belong With Me, oh my God, when it comes on the radio, I sing it so loud, and I'm so embarrassed, because I so freely sing it so loud. But she's a lovely girl, and she's very sweet, and what can you do? And it's a great song. You can't help.
Well, I think maybe it's because you sing it so loud that you're embarrassed, rather than the song. It's
the song's it's not a bad song.
I've heard the song actually. I think it's a great song.
It's a great song. I think it's just because it's very kind of whimsical in a way that I'm not necessarily whimsical every day. And when it comes on, I just get this
release.
Yeah, I want to sing it. Every woman feels that way.
Fab. Okay.
So I didn't mean that in a bad way, Taylor.
No,
I think you're lovely and
I don't
beautiful.
think it came through bad at all.
You're a great songwriter.
I don't think it came through badly at all. The next question is by Ethan from Fort Worth, and Ethan's question is, what do you think is the biggest misconception about you?
That I'm a character, or that Gaga is separate from Stephanie. We are one and the same. There is no difference. I am exactly who I say I am. And I'm exactly who you say I am.
Fabulous.
Would you say that's the biggest misconception about me? I think that's the biggest misconception.
I think there were a lot of questions people were asking about the difference between you and how you prefer to be addressed and things like that. And even I wasn't sure how you would prefer to be addressed when we're...
Well, I prefer Gaga only because everyone calls me Gaga now, even like my mother. But but when people call me Stephanie, I don't. I'm not like, oh, don't call me that.
Maybe as well it links to what you were saying before, the idea that you were quite guarded and you've opened up a little bit.
I've opened up much. I mean, I used to get so angry when I would sit down in an interview and someone would say, hello, Stephanie. I'm almost like, you fucking disregard everything I've ever done and all my work, and you just want to get to know the real me, which means you know nothing about what I do and have no understanding. I have fully committed myself to what I do and what I create, and Gaga is my nickname. Gaga is Gaga freed me from the limits and the chains of what I was before I was able to be free and be confident and reject all of the perceptions about a woman and what she should be. Gaga was for me a metaphorical quest to myself, so I would never say that one name is more like me than the other. They're both exactly who I am. I am one person. I might have several personalities, certainly, and I'm probably slightly schizophrenic, but that's me.
Fantastic. Okay, the next question is by Eddie Sleman.
Eddie!
Eddie. Eddie's question
I love Eddie
is...
so much.
Eddie's question's quite complex.
I'm sure it is. Thank you, Eddie.
I hope I've got the wording of it correct. Eddie's question is, let's talk about the discrepancy between your private and your public lives. Where is the line? When is the precise second when it switches? Do you feel the need to take a deep breath and do the thing, or does it always feel like you're on stage? I hope I've got the gist of what he wanted to ask.
I know exactly what he's asking me. Well, there's two parts to that question. The first part, in the way, is the discrepancy between the private in the public life. One, in many ways, I believe as an artist that being private in public is at the core of the aesthetic or the message. However, I profusely lie about my personal relationships in an effort to protect that aesthetic and that message. Because today, people are distracted by unimportant things. Like, for example, what my diet is, or who I'm fucking. Now, the second part of the question said, when is the precise moment when it switches? I would like to be able to say that when there is a dick inside me, that the moment switches, but it doesn't always. I'll be honest. Sometimes it doesn't, and I do quite often feel like I'm on stage all the time. And I also persistently believe that life is a stage, and that life is my stage on which to be an artist. When I'm sleeping, it is an art. When I am dancing, when I'm singing, when I'm making breakfast. But there is a moment of freedom where somehow the stage disappears.
And when's that? Is it precise, or is it kind of a changing moment every now and again?
When I cry. I would have to say most honestly when I cry. Whether I'm on stage or off stage or alone or with someone, almost instantly when I cry, the stage disappears. Even when I cry on stage with my fans, somehow it becomes
about you,
a living room, and it's not a stage anymore. And there's something very honest. But it has nothing to do with taking off a wig or smearing my lipstick. It doesn't even have anything to do with whether or not I've had an orgasm. It's much deeper than that. So Eddie, I don't know if I asked your impossibly difficult and deep, in-depth question, but I appreciate it and I love you, and I would expect nothing but that from Eddie.
Fantastic. I think maybe it goes a little bit lighter after Eddie's question.
Eddie's great. I knew he would.
And it does. Our next question is by Surabhi in India. And their question is, what did you wear to your prom?
I wore a black car wash dress. It was made out of chiffon, wrapped around like a black tube dress. And then it was very, very short, and then it had these long black strips, like in a car wash.
Oh, yeah, like what your car goes through the strip?
Yes.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Very long, lots of them. And at the end, it faded into gray a bit. It was great. I think it was $300. I remember it was so expensive, and my mother was screaming, and I have to have it, it's perfect. And all the girls are wearing, and I was so upset, and it was so $300. We were like, my mother was like, not a chance am I buying that for you. And I begged her and begged her and begged her. And then she surprised me. I had a job though, so.
Do you still have it?
The dress?
Yeah.
You know, I bet my mother fucking does have it because she keeps everything. She's so Italian.
Our next question sort of links in with that idea, and it's by Corinne in Israel. And the question is, how did your old classmates and teachers react to the fact that you're now one of the most popular people in the world?
My classmates?
Old classmates and teachers.
Well, my old classmates, I don't know, I don't really speak to all of them, but my closest girlfriends are wonderful and haven't changed a bit. And as for the school, that has been a bit more of a kind of sad experience for me. The teachers have been wonderful, but the administration of the school, also many of which I don't really know, the nuns that used to run the school that I still know were lovely and they love me, but and also especially the English teachers and the head of the school that I was very close with. They were wild feminists and instilled so much good wisdom in us, and I have really nothing bad to say about where I went to school because I have really nothing bad to say about where I went to school because they really gave us such a wonderful education and the teachers were wonderful. But I will say I've been really sad about some of the things that have happened with my high school, because my sister goes there and my family worked so hard. My parents were not rich. They spent every dollar that they made on me and my sister going to the most wonderful, expensive private school that they could afford, because they wanted us to have opportunities that they didn't have, and I suppose in an attempt to also say something about religion, as a Catholic school, I've been slightly put off by the very un-Catholic way that they have responded to my success, and how supportive my family has been to them for over 20 years as a school. It's I don't like to say bad things, but
disappointing.
It's been really, no, I wouldn't even say disappointing. It's been more sad, because I have such a lovely memory of my schooling, and I know how much, it's going to make me cry, I know how much my parents didn't have things because they wanted my sister and I to have things, and the way that my family has been treated has really made me sad, because they gave the school everything so that my sister and I could have a wonderful education. You know, every charity, every auction, every time the chapel needed refurnishing, or, you know, they were so giving. My mother and father are the most giving, wonderful Christian people. No judgment. They taught my sister and I to be so free and no judgment, and there is such a diluted sense of religion and what is right, and perhaps the school's just not what it used to be. Makes me very, very sad. I'm sure they'll really love that I was so honest.
No, you should
as
be.
well, but I have to be honest about something that's that
personal and close.
It's so personal, and I don't want to lie. I don't want to lie, because the truth is that my closest friends and family have been so wonderful, and I'm so grounded, and I'm myself, and I you know, I don't give a shit about money or yachts or big houses or fucking dinner parties, and I think it's really wrong to judge people, and I think it's really wrong to place a social importance on a family or a human being. I think it's really wrong, and I would never do that to someone, and it's everything I'm against, so I have to be honest about it, because it's how I truly feel. And my sister is the most lovely, wonderful, precious person, but I will say that the teachers at the school are the best and the most wonderful, brilliant teachers. They are truly magical, and Sister Bio, Mrs. Price, Dr. Lampetus, just so many wonderful, wonderful teachers.
Great. Thank you for being so honest. Our next question has been asked by George in Lisbon, and also by Ari Emanuel in Los Angeles. You always knew you wanted to be famous. What is the most unexpected part of that? The thing you never accounted for or imagined?
The love I feel for my fans. The love that they've given to me. That is like, it's so precious. You can't even imagine it until you... I imagine that must sound like how when women give birth, they say, you can't imagine how you feel when you give birth. That's how I feel. You can't imagine it. They are so... It was so funny this morning. One of my fans got my phone number. So they were so sweet. They sent me a photo of them with these masks on, and they were going to her 21st birthday, and they were calling me and texting me and telling me how much I inspire them, and I started to to respond and talk to them, because I felt so bad. I didn't want to ignore them. I knew they knew it was me. So I just told them how much I loved them, and they were like, we love you, Mother Monster, you're so super amazing, and we're wearing these masks because we love you, and you changed our lives, and I can be myself. And I was laying in bed crying because I love them so much, and they were sending me these sweet little photos, and I was scolding them to be safe and not drink too much, even though it was their 21st birthday. And
I think it's interesting you saying that, because as well, from the number of questions we had that were just, I really love her, will you let her know that I love her? And it's just like, I know it's not a question, but there was so much kind of love coming through from these comments, and people seem so grateful to kind of have the chance to send
they're
something
wonderful.
to you.
And I would say most of them are quite troubled. I mean, I look out into the audience, and it's like looking into tiny mirrors, you know? They all remind me of myself, and they're all, so many of them have, they're insecure, or they hate their parents, or they don't fit in at school, or they're cutters, or they're depression, and some of them are 9 and just like pop music, and some of them are 35 and or on a night out in the town with the boys, and it varies, but I would say that there's a vast majority of them that are quite troubled and looking to fit in, and they feel like freaks, and they want to go out to raise their freak flag high above their heads and be freed. And that's what the show is all about. The show is a safe place for them, and that's what I say at the very beginning of the show. I say, I created this show, I created the Monster Ball so that my fans would have a place to go, a safe place. An electric chapel.
Like a hat. It's their hat. Social canopy.
A social canopy.
Our next question is from Jennifer from New York. And And Jennifer's question is, how has your fame affected your relationships with your friends and family, if at all?
At one point, you know, it's hard on people, and you know, at one point I was slightly insensitive about it because I was like, "What's the big deal?" Because I have zero concept of my fame or what that even means, or how big or small I am, or how culturally relevant or irrelevant I am. So I was slightly insensitive at first, and you know, I had arguments with my parents, and you know. I said, you know, you guys got to get it together. You have to stop freaking. It was hard, you know, for everyone. I don't want my parents to be incessantly asked about me all the time, or my friends, or can you ask her to do this, or you know, it's difficult on friends and family, but we made it through, and I think part of making it through is that I started to grow up a little bit and for myself be able to understand how my career has affected the people that I love, and I've been able to kind of be more about it, which I wasn't able to do before because, and I still, to be quite frank, I have no fucking clue how people perceive me, so my mom sometimes is like trying to explain it to me, and I'm like, Mom, what are you trying to say? And she doesn't, you know, but she, in another way, I think that my friends and family love that about me because I'm still very much just an Italian girl from New York that's been, you know, that's got a lot of light on her face and is trying to follow the spotlight, but doesn't really know what's going on. So I'm very naive in that way. So it's okay now. Everyone's good. I haven't really lost anyone. I've a few people, but you know, your real friends, the real people that you love, they're there.
Brilliant.
Oh, I'm gonna have to pee soon. I'm gonna die.
Fantastic. Okay, we're over halfway through.
Oh,
which is good, I think. We're making good time. Okay, our next question was asked by Star from Pittsburgh and also Bryce from Houston.
That's a lovely name.
Do you ever wish that you weren't famous?
Do I ever wish I wasn't famous? Well, I've always been famous. Nobody knew about it. Fame is on the inside, it's not on the outside. So I guess you could say the fame is something that I've always felt. And that thing I want my fans to feel. That self-love, that inner confidence. But do I wish I wasn't famous today in the media definition of what fame is? No. I don't wish I wasn't famous. I do wish sometimes I had more privacy and could get drunk and vomit in a corner and not be photographed or videoed while doing it. But, you know, there's sacrifices that you make, and the trade-off in that question is if I wasn't famous, I wouldn't have all of you. You know, I wouldn't have all my little monsters if I wasn't famous, and I would never give that or them up for anything. So, no. Oh, they wanted to let me know I could stop for a pee break.
Okay. Do you want to do the pee break?
No, it's okay.
Shall we go on?
I'll be fine.
I need to pee too.
You have to pee too?
But I think maybe it's going to sharpen us up and we'll get these questions out really quick.
Okay.
Let's try. Let's see if it works.
Urgency.
Okay. Our next question is by Colin McDowell from London. And his question is, you are seen as super ballistic, space-age modern, but what do you feel about the dress of past centuries as a basis for your costumes?
Does he mean like 1800s, 1700s?
I think so. I think he means kind of the idea that there are ideas culled from the past in these. They look very futuristic, but you could maybe look at the
yes.
shape.
Well, we've done that. I mean, the MTV performance outfit was quite romantic, but yet very futuristic because it bled on its own. I think it's important I think, you know, a knowledge of what has been done before is very important. I think that it's important to know what has happened before, but I also think it's important to be original and strive for, and I'm still working on it, you know. I mean, I reference constantly, but I have most recently felt that I've had some really truly original moments, and if you get one really good original moment, your whole career, you're solid. So I push for that every day.
Brilliant. Okay. Our next question is by Jordan Holloway from Morgantown in West Virginia, I believe. What is the craziest outfit you've seen worn by one of your monsters at the Monster Ball?
Craziest? Well, I don't know. They're all so great. I love when they get all dressed up. It's so amazing. Sometimes I get distracted during the show because I'm just lollying, looking out into the audience. One of my favorites, which was quite committed, was this boy came dressed fully as Kermit the Frog, because it was when I brought Kermit as my date. And I guess he wanted me to think my boyfriend was in the audience, because Kermit was my boyfriend at the time. So I thought that was quite committed, because he had the full head mask, like the whole thing, and it was so hot. And it was back when I was doing the Faint Ball, so it was more a club. It was a nightclub. So it was so blistering hot. I was thinking, he is so committed in that suit. But there's been some amazing ones. I mean, they're always amazing. The caution tape, the cone heads, the cigarette glasses burning in the audience while I'm jumping up and down and people are screaming. The crystal dresses, crystal hats, the mirrored outfits, I mean, I couldn't possibly choose one. They are all so wonderful. But I liked his because he didn't make it, and it was so difficult to wear, and he was so hot, so I thought he really suffered for his moment, and so I noticed him.
Suffered for his art.
He suffered for his art.
Fantastic. Okay, our next question is from Kristin Fritz in Minnesota. What is the one thing that you hope your fans take away from you as a person and your music?
I want them to love themselves. If I could for a moment just inspire you to love yourself, that would be worth everything.
Next question. Our next question is from Edison Chen in China. His question is, what is the most obnoxious thing a male fan has ever done or said to you?
Obnoxious?
Obnoxious.
Never obnoxious. I would say I quite enjoy when fans are waiting for a very long time, and then I see them and they say, I've been waiting for 8 or 9 hours, and I need you to sign this, and I have bought 7 of your CDs, and you really need to take photos with me. I mean, they're just so persistent. Like, I am a good fan, and I deserve this moment. And I always look and I say, yes, you do. So I wouldn't say that's obnoxious at all. I think it's wonderful. I don't think
if you're obnoxious, you're not really a fan from what you're.
No, and I've never really had an obnoxious fan. You know, I don't, and I don't take offense to any flirting or provocative commentary. I think it's wonderfully rude.
Fantastic. Okay. Our next question is by Brenda Jam from London.
Brenda Jam.
Is there ever a time you feel scared of your monsters?
Scared of my monsters? Not often. I would say 99.9 infinity% of the time I'm not afraid of my monsters, but there, every once in a while, there perhaps is a very extra troubled fan that really wants to see me or speak to me, and I'm always quite funny about it because my security will go crazy and freak out, and I'm like, oh, they're rad, it's okay, they're just they need someone to talk to, and I've actually before in situations like that actually contacted parents and told them I thought that their little monster needed some help and some attention and some love. So no, I'm not afraid. One time someone came on stage once, and I don't know how they got on stage.
Was that in Japan?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about that.
I got scared for a second. Because, you never really know. People take drugs and they're having a good time at the show. You never really know what's going to happen. But I wasn't really scared. I was just kind of surprised. So I wouldn't say I'm very often scared, no.
It's more surprised and concerned.
Yeah, it's more surprised and concerned. I just want to help them. And I've talked to my fans all the time. So, no, I would not say. I would certainly never say I'm scared.
Okay. Our next question is by Takashi Murakami from Japan. And his question is, what is your favourite monster? Literally monster, not referring to your fans. Favourite animal in folklore or mythology, and favourite scary story?
My favourite monster? Well, I guess one of my favourite monsters, which is the one that I am most afraid of, is the anglerfish, which is actually in the show. It was my childhood fear.
I know the anglerfish.
It's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying.
It's phosphorus or something, isn't it, that lures things?
I don't know what it is, but it's completely
Sorry, I
terrifying.
don't want to make you relive.
I'm upset right now. It's completely terrifying. And so we thought it was fitting in the show to build a giant 50-foot anglerfish that I kill at the end of the show. Maybe I shouldn't give that away. But it's completely terrifying. So I suppose that he is my favorite because it is my childhood monster. My favorite monster from mythology, the unicorn. I love the unicorn. I suppose the unicorn is the monster.
It says favourite animal in folklore or mythology,
that's
so
perfect.
we can say the unicorn.
The unicorn. Half animal, half monster. Half magic and poetry.
And your favourite scary story?
My favourite scary story. The one that I'm going to dream about tomorrow night. I have incessant nightmares, but I've learned to love them because they somehow end up on stage or in my work.
Fantastic. Did they inspire you? Is it like a Karl Lagerfeld thing? Do you dream a vision?
Always.
The way he dreams the Chanel shows?
Always. I'm also terrified of the devil.
Well, the next question I'm going to ask you is from Tatin in Hong Kong, which is, do you believe in God?
Yes.
And the devil?
And the devil. I believe in both. I had this dream quite recently that was so terrifying, so morbid and terrifying, and I called Deepak Chopra, who I work with, and I was telling him my dream, terrified, that the devil, and the dream was so terrifying, I thought somehow a devil force was trying to take hold of me, a darkness. I guess I see devil and darkness as the same thing. And he laughed and told me that I was very creative. And that
that's what it represents.
Learn to embrace my insanity. So, okay.
Okay, our next question is by...
I certainly believe in God, though, yes.
Our next question is by Matthew Williams from London.
Oh.
And he says, my favourite tattoo of yours is Tokyo Love. What will your next tattoo be, and where on your body will it be?
I don't know. I want to get one that says Born This Way.
In advance of the film?
Yeah. And I want to get one that says Free Bitch, I think. But I'm not quite sure.
Great. I always wanted one of Madame de Pompadour, which is a little weird. I love Madame de Pompadour.
I love
really
that.
So
I think
that
tattoos have powers. So I'm always interested in injecting some new powerful force into me. So, I've also actually fantasized about getting Mary Magdalene or Joanne, which means so much to me. So I'm not sure. I know what I want, but I very free in the moment of wanting tattoos. I have sort of a list of tattoos I want to get in the future, and then
is it quite impulsive? All of a sudden, you're
very
like,
impulsive.
Okay, I'll do it now.
I'll just be like, oh, let's go get a tattoo today, and I go. I don't really plan it or think about it too much.
Okay, this is from a few different people. So it's been asked by Megan from Glasgow, Whitney Catherine from Perth, and also Raquel Zimmerman from New York. And the question is, how did you feel playing face to face with Elton John at the 2010 Grammys?
Oh, I felt so happy and so joyful and so grateful, and you can really see it on my face in that performance that I'm just having the best time. And it was kind of a transition for me in what we were speaking about when you asked me the Madonna question. It was a transition because I was really beginning to build these wonderful friendships with people that I admire so much, and it was a bit like, the Berlin Wall falling. It was a nice moment for me. I felt like I could really let my guard down after that.
So it was a bit of a watershed moment for you?
Yes, because I as an artist, I feel like I constantly have something to prove to myself, perhaps, or to my fans, or something to give, something to... a point to prove, a message to prove. Part of the process, proving the over and over again, and in that moment I felt very free. I felt very, very ready for a new proof, a new smell, new age of my music.
Fabulous. Okay, I'm just loading up our next one. Our next question is from Naomi Campbell from London. And Naomi asks, who would you love to duet with, dead or alive?
With you, Naomi. I love Naomi Campbell. Naomi is wonderful and amazing, and I love the charity work that she does. She's, especially for Haiti, she's really wonderful.
Is there anyone besides Naomi?
Well, no, I'm going to answer. I would have loved to do a duet with Judy Garland. I would have really loved to have known her. John Lennon. David Bowie.
Is that the list?
Yes.
That's our definitive
and Nick
list.
Knight. But we do lots of duets together.
I would really like to hear you do one with Nick Knight.
Nick would be fabulous.
Yes.
Amazing.
He'll be marvellous.
He has sort of a cadence to the way he speaks too. So
Nick's question's the next question. I didn't plan that at all, but Nick's question is the next question.
That's creative consciousness.
Nick asks, is there a song you would not sing?
Yes. I wouldn't sing anything hateful or violent in a hate-producing kind of way. I'm fascinated by war and violence, but I would not sing a hateful song.
Great. Okay. Our next question is from...
That's a good question,
That's
Nick.
a good, good answer as well.
Question. Is there any song you would not sing? I love
Just
Nick.
how Nick talks.
I love him so much. I can't
We're not allowed
take
to.
it.
We can't make fun of Nick here.
I'm not making fun. I love him. He's my favorite person.
Our next question has been asked by Stevie Wilson from Los Angeles. And Stevie asks, what things do you feel you have left to achieve? You've worked hard to become this sensation, and your face, name, music and performances, right down to the makeup, are iconic and mimicked by other singers. How do you perceive your celebrity presentation, and how will you evolve? Where will you be in 5 years?
Well, I have zero perception of my celebrity presentation. I hope to be not a celebrity. I can say that I hope that I am perceived as separate from the idea of celebrity. I can hope that I am perceived as important and loving and peaceful and enigmatic. And I hope, even more importantly, that I'm perceived as good to my fans.
And is that, would you say that's what you want to achieve? Is that what you have left to achieve, just to...
Well, I have so much to achieve. I mean, I've achieved nothing. You know, I feel like I've achieved nothing. I have so much to do. I've achieved my fans, my beautiful little monsters, but artistically, I have so much to say and so much to do, and musically, I'm a garden. I am not a desert. I have so much. I'm so impossibly not finished, but I guess you could say I always want to exist in a very separate space from my fans, a Gaga space, our separate monster space that is not imploded by or what is that word? A space that's impervious to anything else, that nobody can break through, a cell wall that it cannot be penetrated, a safe haven. I want to be relevant and irrelevant all at once.
Brilliant.
How do I look, Liz?
Okay, our next question is from Brett Easton Ellis from Los Angeles. He asks, do you agree with the following statement? Women are crazy vaginas.
Women are crazy vaginas. No.
Next question.
Although I think it's very funny. It's very general, isn't it?
It's a bit too...
It's too general.
That's quite a good
I don't
answer.
know how you're...
No, that's too general.
That's too general. Oh, no, but I also would say that every vagina feels different. I can't possibly tell you how your vagina's feeling today, Ruth. I don't know.
The answer would be no, that's too general.
I just heard someone laughing through the speaker.
No, that's too general. Every vagina feels different. I think that's a bit of a wonderful answer myself.
What do you think so?
If you want my opinion, I think that's a great answer.
Your opinion matters, Alex.
Thank you.
Can I have some more tea, please?
Okay, we're on question number 42.
Oh, goodness.
And it's by Spencer in Nampa. And Spencer's question is, what's the nerdiest thing you've ever done?
The nerdiest thing, I'm very nerdy every day, so I don't know if I could even find a way to separate. I'm quite nerdy. Well, right now we are in the middle of trying to extract what... It's so nerdy. Me and the House of Gaga wants to know we want to know what the effect of the smell of blood has on people. So we want to figure out what that is. That's so nerdy.
It's very science, very sort of weird science.
Yeah, we really want to know.
I think that's suitably nerdy.
Is that suitably nerdy?
I think so. Okay, this question is by, again, a number of people. It's by Marisol Celine in Belgium, Madison Logan in Beaufort in South Carolina, Liam R. Findlay in Weymouth, and has also been asked by Kate Moss from London.
Oh.
And the question is...
Hi, Kate.
If you decided to have children, what would you call them? I'm not sure how many you would decide to have.
I like Annabelle. I like Lennon for a girl.
As in John Lennon?
Yes. I also like Joey for a boy, after my father. And Joanne. I love Joanne.
Great.
I've always liked Sophia too. Sophia Loren.
Do you want me to go back and add Sophia?
Sure. Who knows how many kids I'll have?
You need plenty of names.
Just
ready.
What?
You need plenty of names ready, just in case.
Yeah, just in case, you know. Not for a long time. I'm terrified of having children.
Okay. Our next question is by Aline Macedo. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. From Brazil. Who is the most interesting person you've ever met?
Interesting person. I don't want to offend anyone. Probably my grandmother. I suppose you don't really meet your grandmother, but my grandmother, on both my grandmothers actually, both my grandmothers, my mother's side and my father's side, they are so strong. They have been through so much, and they both came from nothing, and they just are the strongest, most irreplaceable women so deeply loved by their husbands as well, which I think to be fascinating and impossible for me to be such a strong woman and to find a man that will impossibly love you without making them feel insecure. Impossible. But both my grandmothers and my mother have done that. So I suppose the trinity of women in my life have been the most interesting. Is my grandmother Veronica, my grandmother Angelina, and my mother Cynthia. They are my trinity of my womanhood. I suppose they're also the reason that I'm a feminist, but it's quite crazy, isn't it, that I'm a feminist, and yet what's so lovely about it is so many people have this misinterpretation of feminism as man-hating, which it isn't. It's got nothing to do with that. I really admire my grandmothers and my mom.
Fantastic. I think my mum's probably...
Right?
Yeah,
I could say someone I've met recently, but to be completely honest, that I think an interesting person is someone that teaches you something about your life and how you can...
Your family teaches you more than anyone else.
Your family teaches you more than anybody.
Okay, our next question is by Racia Ventisik. I think that's your name. I'm really sorry about mispronouncing it dreadfully. I'm sure I did.
It means Raisa.
And she's from California. Did you miss having a Lady Gaga in the 90s while you were a teenager to be a fan of and to identify with?
No, I guess I didn't, because I suppose I didn't know what a Lady Gaga was yet. I didn't know. I always knew it was my destiny to be an entertainer, but I didn't. I was ready to be the new thing. I always admired the women that I grew up watching, all the pop stars, Britney and Christina, and I was a big Layla K fan, and Madonna, and Blondie, and Patti Smith, and Linda Perry, and Four Non Blondes. And I could go on and on and on about so many, but I guess I'm speaking specifically about when I was in the 90s. In 1990 I was 4, so I'm speaking specifically about until I was about 15 years old, which would mean that I was in my younger years. And I listened around when I was 13. That's when I started to really listen to older music. So I was more into Zeppelin and Queen and Pink Floyd. So I wasn't really. I kind of went through a transition where which is very much, you can see now in my performance style, much more androgynous. I was much more obsessed with male rock stars at a certain point, and Bowie to be particular. So I didn't identify with women as much in the 90s, I guess you could say, also. So I was more obsessed with men and grunge. I loved Kurt Cobain. I mean, I loved so many different kinds of music, but a female figure, perhaps I was too young to know what could become, but now here we are.
Great. Okay. Our next question is from Stephen Gann in New York.
Stephen, the magazine is my favorite magazine in the history of magazines. And Stephen Gann, I may have said, if I hadn't said my mother and my two grandmothers, I may have said Stephen Gann, because Stephen Gann is one of the most interesting people I've ever met, and most lovely, wonderful, interesting people. He's amazing.
Well, Stephen asks, at the Met, Oprah Winfrey called you some kind of spiritual and cultural leader. How do you feel about that? And what do you do to uphold that? As in, do you think of yourself as a role model to younger people and kids?
Yes, I do. And I appreciate so much that Oprah said that. Oprah is wonderful and such a wonderful inspiration as well. And you know, things change. You know, like I said, I didn't have very much perception of the way people viewed me up until a certain point. And then once you start to gauge who's watching and who's listening, you start to think about, okay, now what do I want to say now? Particularly with my next album, I'm much more self-aware of my spiritual and leadership connection to my little monsters and the world, in the way that any artist is a leader in that way. And I don't particularly think that things like sex and drugs and talking about things openly in that way are wrong or necessarily bad for young kids. But I think that the most terrible thing that you can do is be prejudiced. And I would say that emphatically in my career, I am against prejudice. I am very against prejudice. I'm very against judging any particular kind of person or people or thing or idea. I think it is very important to be free and full of non-judgment. So I guess I would say that is how I religiously and spiritually lead my fans, is in that way, and I'm okay with that responsibility. I wasn't always quite aware of it, and I'm aware that in my work sometimes I get a bit, you know, I don't think about it sometimes in my videos and in my music and in my lyrics, because there's also
personal expression, and also I have older fans and insecure and fans who need and want to hear how I really feel about things. So there's a balance. You've got to keep a balance. I can't only think about doing what's wrong. Doing what's wrong or right is so it's so religious. That is what religion is, isn't it? What's wrong and what is right. And I think religion is completely bogus. So I think, you know, in the most spiritual and religious kind of way that I am, I believe in God, and I'm a very religious Catholic person, but religion is quite bogus, isn't it? Because no religion doesn't hate one kind of person. So it's very confusing for me. I still struggle with it. There's kind of spirituality and there's religion, and it's how those two interrelate. And
now, I don't know if someone would be perhaps offended that I said religion is bogus and they don't want their 11-year-old to hear that statement, but I feel that I am a good opinion about what is taught to young people and how we are mind controlled by whatever forces that be to believe or see things in a certain way. And I think the most important thing that they need to learn is to love and to be non-prejudiced.
That's good teaching.
So that's what I think. Mom, grandmas, if you're listening.
Our next question is a little bit, well, pulling away a little bit from that. It's by Javier Perez from Los Angeles. And Javier asks, what's the one thing even your best friends don't know about you until now?
Well, Javier, who is one of my best friends, that even my best friends don't know about me. Probably how much I really miss you. And how, I hope you know this, but I would not be where I am today without all of my wonderful and closest friends. So forgive me for being sappy, but just in case we needed to clear that up, there you go.
I'm sure they like to hear it, even if it is a little bit sappy.
I tell them all the time, but I mean, to be honest, there's probably not very much that they don't know, and if they don't know, it's for a reason.
Okay. Our next question is from Graham Conway in Toronto, and his question is, what is your attitude towards collaboration with peers in the pop music scene? Is it an idea which scares, excites, or even interests you?
At this very moment, I really don't want to do any collaborations, especially contemporary ones, because I want to really stand on my own 2 feet and make this new album is my moment to create what will later be perceived 20 years from now as my iconic. That's what you should always be, I think, striving for. So I think sometimes, especially today, collaborations are not the same as they used to be. You collaborate to get your song on a different radio format, or to up your record sales, or get people to pay attention to you by putting a superstar on your record, and I just think it's kind of trivial and boring. So the only reason I did that collaboration with Beyonce is because I genuinely love her and I genuinely wanted to collaborate with her, and there's no other reason to collaborate with someone. And she is a real good person, Beyonce. I mean, I would say she is my favorite contemporary person in pop music. She is my favorite. She is a lovely, lovely person, and she is so kind, and I don't know how anyone could ever say one bad thing about her, to be honest.
Good answer. So I just want to make sure that we have, today collaborations are about appealing to a wider market and gaining radio plays and album sales. Is that kind of above artistic integrity, would you say? Is that sort of your problem with it?
Or beneath. But, you know, to me, artistic integrity is...
So are you saying that they're trying to push it above artistic integrity, whereas you will only collaborate with someone like Beyonce if you feel that you should? If I
feel that I should, yeah, exactly. You know, there's no reason to just put someone on a record because it's
fashionable
or good for you. You know, you should do it because you want to.
Brilliant. Okay, our next question is from Joe 3H Weinberger in Los Angeles. Ugh. He's got a very simple question. Tupac versus Biggie.
Joe, you are... Biggie. I'm sorry. I'm be crucified for that one. Can I choose both? But I'm Biggie.
We could put, can I choose both?
Can I choose both?
Can I choose both? That's a good answer.
They're both amazing.
It's a very diplomatic answer.
I mean, but Biggie is, you know, I gotta be honest about what I listen to. Dead wrong. I mean, what are you gonna... Come on.
Okay. Our next question is by, I think it's Jere or Jere, I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce it, Jere from the Netherlands. And their question is, what question do you want to be asked? What question has no interviewer ever asked you, but you would love to answer?
How are you? I rarely get asked, how are you?
How are you?
I'm great.
I had to do that. I knew that whatever you said, I hoped it wasn't going to be too huge and complicated.
Yeah,
but there you
it's
go.
not.
That's fab. Okay.
You know, because people say, you know, nice to meet you, how are you? But no one ever really asks you, like, how are you?
How are you? What's going on with you?
How are you? Like, you know, and sometimes, you know, you meet someone in a bar, and they say, like, how you doing? And I don't get to experience that anymore because, you know, it's How are you? Please sign this. So it's a bit different. So I appreciate the how are you.
Okay, our next question is from Gareth Pugh.
Oh, Gareth.
And Gareth's question is, I see all these pictures of you getting off a plane in an outfit, a full-on head-to-toe look. I want to know how you do it. I can't really picture you in a Virgin sleep suit, but I'm assuming the plane is one place where you can catch up on your sleep. So what happens between the plane and the arrivals lounge?
I sleep in all my glamorous glory.
Is it a bit like Dynasty? Is it like a full face of makeup sleeping?
Yes, it is. It's very funny, actually. Jimmy Iovine, who's the president of Interscope Records, we took a flight together from Heathrow to Los Angeles, I think it was, and he was pissing himself laughing because he could not understand how I was watching a movie for like 12 hours straight, watching movies, drinking out of my teacup, full makeup and outfit and hair done, and he was laughing so hard he could not understand. And he said I reminded him of Stevie Nicks. He said Stevie Nicks was the same way. I can't help, I am the way that I'm a lady. I don't want to be seen in a Virgin Mobile sweatsuit.
Damn right. Well, that's giving the game away to you.
What?
So the next question, or one of the questions that's coming up, which I will ask you now. Let me just find it for you. It's from Harmony Corinne. And his question is, for 2 days worth of world peace, would you eat a hamburger made of human flesh?
Yes.
Just for 2 days? See, that my debate was, would I do it just for 2 days?
Yes.
Would I want the whole thing?
Yes.
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 Without a second thought?
Without a second thought.
Fantastic.
Anything is worth 2 days of world peace. Anything is worth 1 day of world peace. Except I wouldn't kill anyone, obviously. But I guess suppose you'd have to kill someone to make the burger. Would you?
Well, we could specify that it needed to be from
It would have to
farm
be,
sources.
okay, to clarify, I would not be killing the human being that I would be eating. And it would have to be a cadaver of someone that had already passed. So it would have to be an old lady burger.
You're making this worse for yourself as well.
I'm just being honest.
So a cadaver of someone once passed, and I wouldn't be doing the killing.
Oh.
I like
Well,
the
Nick
caveats.
Knight made me eat a bovine heart. Remember Nick? He's so conveniently in the back room. He wanted me to confront my fears about my father's heart surgery. So he gave me a bovine heart to do a performance art piece that he and Ruth filmed. And I took a big bite out of that for you, and I didn't get world peace. I just did it for art. Suffering for a performance art piece.
Okay. Our next question
Couldn't
is
eat
from...
meat for fucking 2 weeks. Ruth was standing on the side like...
I can't... They've shown me the video. I couldn't watch the video, to be honest.
My fans watch it every night.
Our next question is from Daphne Guinness from London.
Daphne!
And Daphne's question is...
I love her so much.
Daphne's question is, do you think the arts can change the future? For the present that we all seem to be in is certainly not the one I envisaged.
I do. I do think that we can change the future with our voices and with art and with music and with fashion. And I know why she feels that way. But I will say so genuinely and authentically that to you, Daphne, when I met you, you changed my future. I somehow found like this kindred human being that is so special and wonderful that made me for a moment feel okay about things that I'm insecure about.
That really links quite nicely with the next question.
I love Daphne.
Which is from Kathy Horan in New York. And her question is, I'm wondering to what extent your style has been influenced by Isabella Blow and Daphne Guinness. I detect not merely more high fashion in your look, but English flamboyance.
Isabella and Daphne are two genius human beings, women, icons, but so much more than that. They are for me a way to look into myself and examine their lives and who they are in an effort to understand myself better. Isabella is an enormous inspiration, and so is Daphne, and I cherish their lives. The late Isabella and the living and breathing and beautiful Daphne that I could not live without. I cherish them both. I cherish them both as if we were cut from the same cloth.
Okay, and I've got one final question.
It's very funny to just to say that before I met Daphne, I used to get confused with as her all the time. People would say, Daphne. Or they would say, do you know Daphne? Daphne will love you. Or they would say, my God, you look like Isabella. And I would terrify people. McQueen used to terrify him, and Philip. I mean, they were like, they couldn't. And people, the same for Daphne, people have said to her, oh my God, I love your music. And she's like, I'm not Lady Gaga, I'm Daphne. And she's so wonderful and lovely, and you know, what a good person. And I guess like there's something lovely about that, isn't there? It's
Absolutely.
just, you get connected
It's great when it's someone that you really admire and it goes.
Oh, I love her. And when I met her, we talked for hours. It was like we couldn't stop talking. She's just she's a creature, a beautiful creature.
Okay, there's one last question, which isn't really a question, and it's from Celeste in Pennsylvania. And her question is, you are amazing. Instead of being asked a specific question, is there any specific thing that you would like to say to your fans right now?
I would like to say to all my little monsters, who I love so much, that I cannot imagine my life without you, nor can I imagine my future without you. And I sometimes even question how I survived without you before you. I will forever passionately only serve you.
Fantastic.
I love you.
Thank you very much,
And
Lady
I love
Gaga.
you,
Thank
Alex.
you.
And I love Nick Knight, and I love ShowSTUDIO.